That was not what we expected. The Toronto Maple Leafs on the second night of a back-to-back fall short to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And by fall short, I mean they got dominated the whole way. And coming off of a night last night against the Tampa Bay Lightning, a division rival, that they saw the Maple Leafs play one of the best games they played in a very long time. The Toronto Maple Leafs had a very disappointing game. And there's a lot to go over here, but the biggest thing to take away from this game was on to the next one. I'm not going to panic too hard, but Darius, this was a game that I jinxed. I'll take some credit for it. I jinxed and said that this was going to be one of the easier matchups of the week, which it was going to be, but ultimately they fell short. Welcoming everybody. I was able to make the stream, so if you were here yesterday, I was able to make it, but what a game by by nobody, really. A couple of guys to take positive take out of here, but again, the biggest storyline coming in was Dennis Hildeby, was Joseph Woll. The Leafs fall short, and they move to 4-3 as they are taking on a brutal gauntlet from hell over the next three games.
Yeah, the next three get well into next week. And I mean, again, this was the easiest game, like you said, of the week. And unfortunately, they dropped it. They had absolutely no legs tonight. It was a bad loss. This is a bad loss, but it's also the type of loss that we can take a couple things from, and we're gonna, focus on some positives as well. And we had the poll earlier. Is it time to panic? It's not time to panic. It's one of those losses you're gonna look back on and be like, well, it's just one of those nights, right? Because nothing seemed to go right, and they did not play at all like they have been so far this season. So I'm not really worried about that. And Hildeby, I've been saying it in videos. I've been saying it on stream. He needs time in the AHL. Yes, he played great against the Devils last week in the season opener. But heading into this week and then this game specifically, there's a couple goals there where you got to have a save. Like not even a couple goals, maybe four of them, where you probably need saves there. So I've been saying it. I think he is the goalie of the future, but he needs some more seasoning down in the AHL. So a couple of things to like. And, something to mention too, Pacioretty didn't come back to the game. He left the game after the second period with a lower body injury. So hopefully that's not serious either. We can get into that probably when we get more information, but not a lot to like tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah, not a lot to like. And let's just dive right into the game here. And Darius, it was a very interesting game. And quite frankly, it's not the game that we wanted to see. Now, I think this box score is the wrong one, so I'll update that for you guys in a second. But I want to hear your comments on what, I don't know, I'm just sad. Dennis Hildeby, we were expecting, and again, you mentioned the Dennis Hildeby thing. Let me fix the box score. But you were mentioning the Dennis Hildeby, and coming into this game, the biggest storyline was the Woll versus Dennis Hildeby.
Yep.
And it ended up being a very clear, not to say, no one ever thought that Joseph Woll was going to lose his spot to Dennis Hildeby, but the fact that he wasn't even able to put up a competitive game and really, again, I'm not going to lie, you could probably put Joseph Woll in there, and based on the way they were playing, they probably still would have lost the game because they had minimal legs. We did see a Matthew Nyes goal and some other things like that, but man, was it disappointing to see, coming off of, like what I mentioned, one of the best games in recent memory for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they weren't able to get it done.
They were not able to get it done. They weren't able to get much done. And both goals that they scored, I mean, kind of too little, too late, right? And they had a couple nice plays too. Columbus's goalie made a couple big saves, but to get to the goaltending specifically, like you brought up, there's a big gap between goaltenders 2 and 3 on the Leafs right now. Like they do have some good depth, like they have good options if there's injuries, but there's a big gap, I think, between goaltenders 2 and 3 at this point in time. Even with Matt Murray, we don't know exactly what Matt Murray has right now. I've been talking very highly of him, but we don't know. He played one really good game in the AHL, which is good, and he's probably going to be the third goaltender into the future when they figure out these cap situation over the next couple weeks. But yeah, it doesn't look great. And I mean, when Joseph Woll is healthy, he plays fantastic. I think the gap in skills is it's not too big of a gap between Stolarz and Woll, but he's got to stay healthy. And I saw something on Twitter during the game that it seems like it's unlikely that he's going to play Thursday now as well. So this is actually developing into quite a bit of a problem because Stolarz can't start every game. Not only can he not start every game, even if he starts 60 games this year, that's double than what he's ever started in his career, right? So in one season. So this is slowly becoming a little bit of an issue early on in terms of health, but we're just going to have to ride the wave. And again, that was just a rumor. It's speculation. Don't take me at face value for saying that. I did see it on Twitter that, it's looking unlikely again still on Thursday, but he could play. And Hildeby just looks a step behind, which is fine. He's young. We weren't expecting him to be a starting goaltender in the NHL at this point. And tonight he definitely looked a step behind, but second half of a back-to-back, and he's staying in for all 6 goals there.
Yeah, I got the wrong base pair, so it was a bit of a rush one from my end, so we're gonna keep that untied here. But I did get the right box score here, and Darius, we can dive into it now a little bit. Um, I mean, positives. Let's take some positives from this game. Anthony Stolarz would play back-to-back games. That, I mean, you can make an argument for that if they didn't have so many crucial games Thursday. They have another game Saturday, then another game Monday. But I mean, Benoit got on the board, which was, on everybody on the Benoit train. But I mean, Matthew Nyes is the one positive we'll take out here, and we're taking positives on a player that was a -3. But I want to get your thoughts on that, Darius. Matthew Nyes and Nick Robertson. Let's take a positive train for a minute here and take some positives out of this, because that's about all you can take from this point. Matthew Nyes had a nice goal. Nick Robertson finally got on the board, which is pretty funny. The one game where he gets on the board. The one game where the Leafs get absolutely decimated. But positives to take away from this one. We can look at straws here. I mean, Hildeby survived the whole game. He didn't get pulled. So Stolarz allows some more rest on that front. But what a sad one.
Columbus could have scored 12 goals and Hildeby wasn't getting pulled tonight, because you have to rest Stolarz for the next couple of games, especially if you don't know what's going on with Joseph Woll. But positives to take away from this game. I thought that the first line was continuing to drive play all game. I thought Matthews, Marner, Nylander, they were put together as a line halfway through the game. And I thought they were trying to lead by example and continuing to push the pace. And they got a couple of chances. They just couldn't score. Not much was going well for the team today. They got away from their game. They looked tired. Just not a lot to like in that way. But they were pushing the pace. I thought that was good. And then Matthew Nyes, he gets on the board again, and it's just a play where, he wins the puck battle. Physical. He he wins the puck battle with his body, playing physical, and then he gets the shot on goal and it goes in. That's just what you got to do, throw towards the net. Win your battles, throw towards the net. He did that. And then Nick Robertson, we talked about it yesterday on stream. It was a storyline last night, even though they won, zeros across the board. We talked about it 2 days ago in a video. Zeros across the board so far this season. He finally gets on the board. And it was a nice goal too. Yes, too little, too late, but it was a nice goal. And it's nice, he can build off that. And there's like little things at the end of the game. Like I said, like the first line continuing to push. These little things, when it's not your night and you're going to lose, there's little things you can build off of. And Nick Robertson did that. And I think that's a good sign. But bad game. Not much to like, but there's little things you can take from it.
Yeah. Robertson, I'm happy with him getting on the board at least. Not like it wasn't an empty net goal or anything like that. He actually I wish it was an empty net goal the way that they play, but it was. It ended up being pretty solid. What's up, Blake? Jay saying they got caught sleeping. Yeah, I'm Hilda horrible. I've been seeing a lot of those online. What's up, Landtrack? I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, it's a rough one. It's a very rough one. But again, the biggest thing here is for me that I'm going to take is the fact that yes, it was on the second night of a back-to-back, but you still would want to see a bit of a better effort from them.
Yep.
And I don't know. It's so strange to me. Polar opposites from yesterday to today. And again, whether that's fatigue, whether that's whatever you want to call it, Anthony Stolarz effect, I don't know. But they need to bounce back Thursday. And that's going to be the biggest thing now. They have games against really tough teams Thursday, Saturday against the Bruins, Monday against the Winnipeg Jets. Like, there's a lot of tough games. You cannot panic from this one. You have to just sweep it under the rug. There's going to be games like this throughout the year, especially when your third string goalie is playing and swayed the momentum clearly, but I don't know. It's an interesting one.
It wasn't just Hildeby too. Like I think it was the third goal. I mean, there were so many tonight, I can't really remember, but I think it was the third goal where there's no defensive coverage. So Hildeby, yes, you'd like to see him make that save, but at the same time, like you can't leave the goalie, high and dry all the time. So I wouldn't panic yet, especially on Hildeby. It was a bad game tonight. It was a bad game, but he's going to go down to the AHL and he's going to be a good goalie in the future. So I wouldn't panic yet. And I wouldn't panic overall. They've been playing very well this season, right? And coming into tonight, they got away from everything that's made them successful so far. And like you mentioned, like, is it fatigue? I don't know. That's an hour flight. Yes, they played last night, but it's, there could be worse flights, but just interesting, very interesting performance. But you know what? Anybody who's in here, let's get a Go Leafs Go in the chat, because, they play again in a day, right? And it's a new day. And sometimes games like this, you just got to sweep under the rug, like you said, and just look forward to the future. So let's get a Go Leafs Go in the chat. I know we got some regulars here tonight. Let's get some positivity going, because, big games coming up. They play St. Louis, right? It's going to be a big game for Berube. If Woll plays, that's a huge storyline, right? And then we're looking forward to Boston on the weekend too. So as long as they, correct the ship, and I think there was a couple of things that to like tonight that you can use to build off of, as long as they do that and put their best foot forward on Thursday and actually show a better effort and more physicality, they'll be better. And skating, they got to get skating. Today was just not managing the puck well, a lot of giveaways, they weren't skating, they weren't hitting, they got away from everything that's made them successful so far this year. So as long as we see that Thursday, positivity's back.
Yeah, and I mean, if they go out and win Thursday and win Saturday, or even depending on how things go, I mean, the positivity was at an all-time high yesterday. Now, I'm not going to take too much into it. We need Marner. Craig needs to talk some sense to these guys, especially so they don't continue to make this into a bad habit. Yeah, I don't think it will be turned into a bad habit. I think it was just it was a very strange game to watch, I would say. It was a strange game to watch, just given how everything went. The goals early, going down 3-0, going down like early always. I mean, it kills the vibe of everybody. And again, and one of the other storylines was David Camp being scratched for Ryan Reeves. Pontus Holmberg stayed in the game. So David Camp, they're switching things up. Probably rest. He's played every single game so far this season. But I don't know. It's still it's a bit bittersweet. Not bittersweet. It's a bit, at least a sour taste on my mouth given how good they were yesterday. And now, something else to talk. We can talk about that now. Pacioretty is hurt. So it's going to be interesting. Again, he wasn't playing too much on back-to-backs. He did play in tonight's game, so the second night of a back-to-back. And he gets hurt when he does play the back-to-back after his goal in last night's game. So, Darius, do you have anything to take away from that? Mr. Patches is now hurt, which is actually not great, especially considering he was finally starting to get his feet under him a little bit. Granted, they have tons of depth, and November 1st is the big decision here, and I'm curious to see how they handle all of this, but Pacioretty is hurt in case you all missed the game, and it makes the decision maybe a little bit more interesting for next week.
Pacioretty goes out with the injury coming into the third period, and I wasn't too worried at first because I thought if anyone saw in the second period, he absolutely blew the guy through the boards and through the glass, and I hope the cameraman and the kid in the first row are okay because that was the craziest camera angle I've ever seen in a live broadcast, but I thought maybe that had something to do with it, but then they said lower body, and we know his history with the Achilles injuries the last couple of years. So I'm really hoping it's not that. I hope it's not serious. Maybe he just tweaked something and he needed to leave the game. And they were losing like 5-1, 5-0 at that point. So maybe just precautionary, he's leaving the game. I'm hoping it's something more like that instead of his Achilles hurting him again, because then that's a real issue, right? For not only him. Tomorrow. Yeah, we'll have an update in the morning, I'm sure, or something, I'm sure we'll have an idea. If it's his Achilles, we'll know, right? We'll
knock on wood.
Yeah, hopefully not. But again, knock on wood. Hopefully not. Hopefully just tweak something, and they kept them out because they're losing and they weren't going to come back. Yeah. They didn't look good. So hopefully it's just that, and we'll get an update tomorrow. But not something you want to see because he's been pretty good. He scored again last night. Like he's been okay, right? Like he hasn't been terrible. Nice compliment piece that third line. Him and Tavares I thought have looked good. So another guy you don't want to see going down with injury, but it does make things interesting, right? I don't want to go too far, but it makes things interesting because they got about a week and a bit here to make some pretty big decisions coming up. Like they're gonna have to let go of somebody pretty significant. Yeah,
and like you said, I agree with Braun Snake here. They look tired and flat. Stuff happens. This team is far too good for this. We'll bounce back. I have zero worries, and I'm not the most optimistic fan out there, but I have zero worries about this one in particular for a few reasons. And we've kind of been discussing them. Like things are going to happen. There's going to be games like this. Did I expect it against the Columbus Blue Jackets? No. That being said, it was still good to see Nyes on the board and get Nick Robertson on the board. I think getting Robertson on the board was one of the more probably one of the best things that could have happened given this game at this point. Because like you think about if anyone else scores, whether it's Matthews or whatever, but the fact that Nick Robertson, hopefully he can build on this going forward. Again, he was pointless coming into this game. This is probably the best player the player I'd want to see get a goal the most in a game that doesn't matter. So we can hopefully build on that for someone who has 0 points all the way through. And some of the guys did look tired. Nylander looked a little tired. They looked, I wouldn't say necessarily against early in the season gassed, but they just looked flat. I think flat's the best word to put it out there, and that's from top to bottom, and going down 3-0 early, and then having, of course, just a rough game from Hildeby. Stuff's going to happen. He's young. Nothing too worried for me, but I can see the concern. What's up, Paul? Hope you're doing well. The new Leafs, just like the old Leafs, beat the good teams, lose to the sucky teams. So far this season, yeah, I mean, realistically, you think about it, yeah, they lost to the Canadiens and they lost to the Blue Jackets. They beat some good teams, Devils, Lightning. So it's, I don't know, Darius. I'm not too upset. And positive vibes. If you're new here, hit the like button. We're up to 70 viewers. Shout out to everybody who tuned in. We go live after every game, win or loss, and there's going to be days like this where the Leafs win. There's 82 games, but I still don't mind the way. I mean, they played bad, but it was after yesterday. I cannot be too upset because yesterday has gotten me so happy, and I don't think they were reverting to bad habits. I don't think that was the case this game. I don't think they were reverting to bad habits that we saw from teams in years prior. I think it was just more so a horrific game from top to bottom. And unfortunately, starting with Dennis Hildeby, but realistically, you can blame the blue line a little bit. You can blame everybody. They weren't grinding for it, and that's what ultimately happens in some games, and it's fine. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, they looked pretty like just flat. I guess that's the best word like everyone's been using. That like the first goal is not a goal you want to see go in, and then you go down 3-0 pretty quickly, pretty
Very
early.
fast.
And then and then you're like, I already don't have the legs and nothing's going right. Like everything was a turnover in the first period. So like nothing's going right. And they just seemed like mentally they were like, all right, boys, fold it in. And that's not something or somewhere you want to be. And especially I'm sure Berube is going to be like, hey, tonight that's not cool. That's not happening again. But I'm sure that's kind of what it was. I don't think it was reverting back to bad habits or anything. I didn't see anything that was a bad habit tonight. I just saw a lot of like broken plays, a lot of giveaways, not managing the properly. They looked tired. But I don't know. I think there's, like you said, some stuff to build on. Robertson scored. Nye's another good game. Nye looks like he's taking a step that we've been talking about during the summer, right? Little things to build off of. And just to be clear, like, I don't think we're panicking whatsoever. Like, this is just a game that you look at on the calendar, like in a couple months, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, they just didn't have the legs that game. It's just one of those games, right? Like every team has them. Every good team has those stinkers. So I'm not panicking yet, but they have to bring it Thursday. If they don't bring it Thursday, then I'm going to be a little bit worried. Like, what's going on here, right? What exactly is going on here? And I don't think Berube will let it get to that point. And I think because of the way they started the season, they won't get to that point either, because Berube kind of has a small sample size now of like, see, you do what I say, we'll win some games and we'll beat some people up. So it's going to be, they better come out Thursday.
Yeah, that's all you can do now is hope for the next step going forward, which is going to be on Thursday night. And again, they play the Blues, they play the Bruins, and they play the Columbus Blue Jackets here, which again is going to be, if they bounce back, let's be honest, if they win 2 out of the next 3 games, we're not going to be thinking back at this game and being like, or even if they win all 3 of them, we're not going to be thinking back and saying, hey, they should have done this. Yeah, they definitely should have. They should have won this game, no doubt about it. But games like this are going to happen throughout the season. Maybe not this bad, but that's some of the ways, some growing pains along the way. That's what I'm going to chalk this one up to. And also see if we can get 20 likes before the stream wraps up. But new Leafs, good news is St. Louis and Boston are good teams. Tampa won on the 3rd game of a back-to-back against the Devils. Yeah, hockey's weird. Like, hockey is ultimately weird. The Leafs lost 1-0 to the Canadiens opening night. The Canadiens looking like a very bad team. And the Leafs lost to them. And then the Columbus Blue Jackets, very bad team we thought too. And the Leafs lose to them again. So things are going to happen. I don't think it was a case of being underprepared. I don't think it was a case of them being lazy necessarily. I think just an unfortunate loss. But they do need to be better. I'm not going to, hide that. They definitely need to be better.
They have to be better. Post-game, Marner says, they brought their best, we brought our worst, which is an all-timer quote, I think. Very simple and to the point, and it's true. It's true. And I think like some storylines heading, if we want to focus on maybe going forward, because that's kind of what we got to do here, because they got away from their game tonight and it was sluggish. It was bad. They looked flat. It was terrible. Saturday, not only Saturday, Thursday, they have to show that, or bring the type of play that they've been doing this whole season up until this point. They have to do that. If they don't, I'm a little concerned at that point. If they do, that's great. But then you move into Saturday and it's a busy week. You move into Saturday, you're playing the Bruins in Boston. That's a huge game. You have to win that game. Mentally, you have to win that game. Like, that's going to tell you a lot about this team mentally if they lose that game. And then you move to Monday, where you're playing the Winnipeg Jets, who are at this point in time, the only undefeated team still in the NHL at 6-0. They won again tonight. So it's not going to get easier. Like, you're going to have to bring your best game here the next couple of nights, and it's a busy schedule. And, we're going to see what they're made out of so far. It's early in the season, but we're going to see what they're made out of mentally too, because going into Boston, they're going to have to pick their spots. Don't get too overhyped, right? Like, we know it's a big game. They beat you in the playoffs and you're in Boston again. Don't get too excited, take too many penalties. Just be even keel, come in, mean business, play hard, try to get that win, and they have to win that game. I think that game's going to tell us a lot about this team mentally, honestly. But that's looking forward. I think that those are keys to success. If they come out in next week with a 2-1 record, I think that's pretty good. But I think they got to start segmenting the season a little bit. Look at things.
I mean, it would have been nice to get the points today though, and go into the big stretch of games 5 and 2. But there's if there was a world where we lost the game yesterday and then won today, same record. Obviously, what you would have liked to win both of them. Montreal lost 7-2 to the Rangers. That makes me feel slightly better. Yeah, they did. I mean, they got curb stomped by the Rangers, which expected though, to be honest.
If the Leafs win the next game, I'll bring out the cowboy hat too. We'll both be wearing hats.
I
So
do
I'm
have the
hoping.
hat
I
there.
was
Yeah,
really hoping it would be tonight. I was really hoping. I thought it was a weaker opponent, but they did not bring their A game. That's for sure.
the hat will be brought out for next game. But Darius, I think it's time that we do our 3 stars, and
Yep.
boy, is it gonna be is it gonna be an interesting one. Um, yeah, leave your 3 stars in the chat. Your 3 players of the game here, and I mean there wasn't too much going on here, but I'll let you start with the 3rd star.
Third star. This is an interesting game here. So third star, I'm probably gonna have to give it to the cameraman behind the glass after he got hit by Max Pacioretty. That was pretty crazy. That was a big hit to take. No, I'm just kidding. But third star, I thought that was the most insane thing, by the way. Like they live on the broadcast, they were on that camera as he got hit. Like the timing was insane. But anyway, third star of the game, I'm gonna give it to Nick Robertson. Good, a nice goal to build off of here. He didn't have a great game, but nobody really did. So I'm going to give it to him. A goal to build off of. Hopefully that builds his confidence to continue scoring next game and obviously into the future. I'm expecting about 25 goals out of this guy. So hopefully he can continue to build off that. And it was a nice goal. So I'm going to give him the 3rd star.
Yeah, I mean there isn't too much. Probably gonna go with John Tavares here. There's not really many. Yeah, he was one of the only players that was positive tonight, +2 with an assist, and I thought he played fine. I think he's playing a little bit better now than he was the first half of the year, so I want to give him some props in a game. Honorable mention to Benoit as well.
I think that's it. That's a pretty good pick, actually. I think my 2nd star, and I don't know if anyone's gonna have him on their 3 stars list, but it's going to be Austin Matthews for me, just because, he didn't score or anything, but I saw a couple shifts there this game where they're down, they're flat, you're losing 5-0, and he's coming out and making things happen, and he's trying to score, and it didn't go their way, but he was continuously trying to make things happen and leading by example. So I got to give him the 2nd star for that, because that's something I don't know if I've seen it in the past. I definitely noticed it tonight. So for him to come out flying like that, and not to say Marner wasn't doing it either, right? I think they were doing it collectively as a line, but I'm going to give it to Austin Matthews for leading by example in that moment as captain.
Yeah, I'm going to give mine to Nick Robertson for all the reasons you said. He finally got on the board, and it was nice to see him keep battling, even though he was struggling. The Leafs were down 5-1 or 6-1 at that point. So ultimately, Nick Robertson, not too much to say there, but I think we both had the same number 1 star here.
Maybe. And I will start. It is Matthew Knies for me, number 1 star tonight. I'm so impressed with his game so far this season. And I'm impressed with, and I keep saying it, I think I said it last night, I think there's a difference between quickness and speed. I'm very impressed with his quickness so far this year, and how quick he is on pucks, using his body, his physicality, and some of the goals he scored, like they're really good, driving the net and just making the smart play, like not overcomplicating his game, right? He's a really good power forward. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. And again, tonight, I thought I was pretty impressed with that line. He was taken off in favor of Nylander just to try and get something going, but I thought he had a pretty good game again. I've been impressed with his season so far.
Yeah, Matthew Knies. He's been the kind of the shining star of the entire season. Obviously, some other guys are playing well, Stellaris as well, but Matthew Knies, he's looking great, and he's playing himself into a pretty hefty contract, and we have some updates in that front, which we'll drop a video on probably tomorrow or the day after. But a lot of stuff is going on. Giving any Leaf stars tonight is generous. Knies probably the only bright spot. Yeah, there's not much to take away positively from this game. We did our best with the positivity that we could, but at the end of the day, it's about on to the next. That's about as blunt as you can get with it. It's on to the next game. This game does not matter. You wrap it up, you put it behind you, and if you even start to think about this game, then you're going to be putting yourself at a disadvantage for 3 teams now that are very good, and well, specifically the Bruins and the Jets, but the Blues as well. For Craig Berube, you got to go out and win that game for him, and it's going to be brutal. It is a brutal stretch of games for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and really it's a brutal week when you look at it. I mean, you were talking about the Lightning and then a back-to-back and all these things, but that's hockey. Other teams are dealing with it as well, just in different forms, so that's how you do it. That's kind of just how it goes. And unfortunately, they didn't take the win today. But let's be honest, we can't win every single one. You're not going to be able to win every single one. That's why we stream the losses as well. We can't only stream the wins. There's going to be ups and downs. And that's why at the end of the season, when they make the playoffs, hopefully, we'll be looking back at this and saying, that's where maybe this would be a win, a loss, where we're saying, okay, they built on this. They looked great in Thursday. They looked great Saturday. They looked great Monday, whatever it ends up being. Thank you, Blake Sim. Yeah, hit the like button as well.
Thank you, Blake Sim. I remember you from the summer as well in those streams. So I remember you're an OG as well. But yeah, I just hope this is not the type of game we look back on. You're like, they missed out on the Atlantic Division title by 1 point or something like that. I just hope that's not one of these games. But it's very early in the season still, and they're working out a couple of things. And I think like for me personally, I expected it. The first 15 games, like, yes, I'm disappointed. I wanted to see them win tonight, but I knew the first 15 games are going to be 10 to 15 games are going to be them working out a lot of things. And then after that, if they're continuing to make a lot of the same mistakes and the same habits, then I'd be a little more concerned. But yeah, tough stretch of games coming up here. You got to win that one for Berube Thursday. That's a thing, man. You have to do that again. Boston, try and win every game. Winnipeg hasn't lost yet this year. Come on, let's win every game. But it's gonna be a tough one. Tough travel as well. And next Monday is on Amazon again, so it's gonna be interesting.
A very big game. Habs to digest, big time bread and night for Toronto, Montreal. Yeah, 2 losses.
Yeah,
very bad ones. Habs was worse, maybe, probably not. Rangers. So
in terms of score, technically yes, but
I saw that Lane
not
Hudson
a great
turnover.
outcome.
I saw that Lane Hudson turnover. It was blowing up on Leafs Twitter. The game's over. Forget it. Get ready for the next one. That's ultimately what we have to do, and we'll have a video for you all tomorrow, Darius. Any final thoughts? I think it's a good point to wrap it up here. It was a unfortunate game. Obviously, shout out to everybody who tuned in still. A bunch of the regulars were in here, and again, we're going to be here every day, so every game, that is, through the wins and losses, and we have a super busy, the Leafs do at least, schedule here, so.
Yeah, I think as a player and as a fan, you put this game to the back of your head. Don't really think about it. And they got to come out. You know, you're going to start looking for things Thursday where it's like, are they going to continue to play the way they have been? I think that's the takeaway for today. And hopefully Nick Robertson can get going, right? I think, don't understate that. He finally scored, right? He's been very unlucky. He finally scored, so hopefully he can get going here. And hopefully Pacioretty. Hopefully Pacioretty is fine. We'll have an update tomorrow. I think we're definitely going to do a video on that tomorrow as details emerge probably over the course of the morning. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, but hopefully he's okay.
Yep, hopefully he is, and hopefully we can all just regroup and move on to the next season. We're historically start slow, no worries. Yeah, I was hoping that script would change this year, but ultimately it did not. But that'll wrap it up. Thank you everybody who did tune in. Again, if you want more Leafs content, we have a video earlier today, and we'll have a video tomorrow at the usual time. We will also see you on Thursday for the post-game live, a very interesting one against the St. Louis Blues. But shout out everybody tuning in. We will play our outro. Shout out to our new outro with our Leafs Digest music. Have a great evening, everybody, and most importantly, let's just enjoy the fact that hockey is back, because I know there'll be times in, once the season is over, that we'll be wishing that we watched the Leafs get crushed 6-2 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all in tomorrow's video and the stream Thursdays. Take it easy and have a good evening.
Leafs Digest, your daily dose of gold. Stories of the bold where legends are told. From first puck drop to the season's full. Tune in.